Hi, good afternoon. My name is Josh Morman. I'm the president of GNU Radio, and thanks to Marcus and the organizers of SDRA for allowing me this opportunity to bring an update of the GNU Radio project to this event. So first, we want to talk about releases and our plans for releases coming up. So if you've paid attention over the last few years, once we got to the 3.10 series, thanks to the very consistent efforts of Jeff Long, our maintainer, our releases have been very consistent. Every quarter, there's been a release with bug fixes and features coming out, whatever is coming out of the community of developers. So our most recent 3.10.10 came out in April, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I'd expect something this summer to come out, which will have an additional bug fixes and features. Also, Volk has made a few releases earlier this year, which Volk being a very integral part of GNU Radio and the underlying computation in blocks, several releases fixing bugs, cleaning things up, so on and so forth. But let's look specifically at the most recent GNU Radio releases. So 3.10.9.2, this is the release that went into Ubuntu 24.04. So the exciting thing about that is, as pervasive as Ubuntu is, for the long-term supported release over the next couple of years, people can just apt-get GNU Radio and have a very up-to-date version of GNU Radio. Of course, you can get the latest versions either from the PPA, if that can be updated, and through building from source. But we always recommend install GNU Radio from your package manager through your Linux distribution. Now, if you're not using Linux, there's also Radio Conda is a great way to install GNU Radio. So I tried this first for myself a few months back, and it just worked perfect out of the box. So on a Windows machine and a Mac machine, I've used the Radio Conda. There are some drawbacks right now that we'll talk about what we're doing to fix that with the ability to install out-of-tree modules natively on Windows and Mac. But for now, 3.10.10, latest release, 3.10.9.2, that's what's in Ubuntu. And we are very appreciative to the packagers in the open source community that do the work to put these things and make them available in all the Linux distributions. So let's talk about some activity on the development front. So most of the things going on the development front, larger activity, has been due to a very generous grant from ARDC that we received about 2 years ago. So all of this focuses on GNU Radio usability. So one of the key things about GNU Radio that makes it so popular or pervasive is that it's a very usable framework. It's accessible, and we want to continue that and make it accessible to the largest number of people possible. So one of those things is installation. Right now, there is Radio Conda, but we have no supported native signed binaries that you can just download GNURadio.msi, double click, it's signed so it doesn't pop up looking like it's a virus. And you can install GNU Radio or out-of-tree modules, GRSatellites.msi, double click on it. That's what we're trying to get to, and fortunately, we were able to contract with Kitware, the makers of CMake, and they have done a lot of work, and there should be an announcement coming soon as to those binaries coming out of our CI and on our webpage. So you should be able to go to GNURadio.org, download, install, and that should open up the software to a lot of people where it's currently a bit more inaccessible, like in educational environments, maybe on corporate machines where you don't have Linux available as easily. Another activity as part of usability enhancements is getting the issue tracker to more accurately reflect what we plan on doing in the maintenance of this and support of the software. So if you take a look at the GNU Radio issue tracker, there's lots of things in there that you're like, we're not going to fix that. Or maybe it's been overcome by events. It's something that just isn't relevant anymore. So Marcus Mueller has been going through and cleaning up the issue tracker to better reflect the state of the software, fixing things, triaging a bunch of issues. And that has been a very valuable activity. So if you'll notice the number of issues in the tracker has gone way down over the last few months. One of the larger efforts on this grant is GNU Radio Companion --QT. So right now in 3.10.10 release, you can run GNU Radio Companion with the QT front end. So QT brings a lot of benefits to GRC, namely, it is a more maintainable framework than GTK. So GTK has more dependency issues, and it also is able to run in a web browser. So that opens up the opportunity for GNU Radio to just run natively in a web browser. So let's take a look at that in another moment. But this work, the contract part of this has been completed, and it's kind of transitioned into the community. Lots of pull requests coming in to improve this even further, and we want to get GRC with QT up to parity with what GRC currently is. Another aspect to usability is documentation and tutorials. So there was a NumFocus grant that we executed on a couple of years ago. Wave Walker DSP executed on this, and that's where the basis of our wiki tutorials are based on his work. And as part of this grant, taking those tutorials, getting them up to date with the latest state of GNU Radio, and also getting all the in-tree example flow graphs to be reflective, to working and match with the tutorials. So this should be wrapping up very soon, and we'll have a very updated set of tutorials. Another aspect of documentation that's being executed by Bailey Campbell is the documentation infrastructure. So one of the things, if you look on our documentation, it's done in the wiki, and it's a bit decoupled, let's say, from the software. It's not, our documentation isn't necessarily versioned. And so looking forward, especially towards GR 4.0, we have the ability to do things kind of radically different and more modern. And so Bailey is setting up that infrastructure that the documentation can be driven from the code in a versioned way, so that, as we make major changes in the code, you can drop down and click and see what version corresponds to which set of documentation. And there's more to it than that. Just trying to give a brief overview here. And then another effort related to GR4. So GR4 has this promise of big performance enhancements, but it's very new at this point, and there's not examples to show what performance enhancements will come with that. So Danny Estevez is working on a packet modem example, transmit receive with GR4, that will serve as an example of how to do modems in the future in GR4. So look forward to bringing more information about that very soon. So as far as the GNU Radio Companion QT version, again, if you just type GNU with 3.10.10 and beyond, if you type GNU Radio Companion --QT, what you'll see is something that looks like GRC, but it's a little bit different. That's because it's using different graphical widgets to render this canvas here. But this has benefits going forward, and you'll notice there's a lot of activity on this front. So if you want to get involved in GNU Radio or GRC programming here, this is a great way to get involved. Reviewing pull requests, fixing things, finding things, fixing them. It's all Python based, so it's very accessible. We have this year 2 Google Summer of Code students. So we had a lot of proposals this year, and it was hard to sort them. Google runs this program every summer, and we submit proposals that come from students. So this year we have 2. One, Kayla Comer is overhauling GRFEC, bringing in some of the advantages of other FEC packages such as Affect, and Andre Rode is mentoring. And Zaki Hermawan is taking on a modularization of GRC so that GRC can be used in a more generic way, that you can add workflows into it to make it more flexible to do different things. You might want to render different types of scripts than just the Python execution or the C++ execution. We can expand that to do whatever kind of graph-based rendering of a script that could come out of there. All right, so let's talk a bit about GNU Radio 4.0. there is a lot of activity on this front thanks to Ralph Steinhagen and the group out of FAIR GSI. But GNU Radio 4.0, where we're going right now, there's been quite an evolution that's gotten us there. So if you've paid attention the last 4 years or so, the vision of GNU Radio 4.0 is modularity, heterogeneous compute, distributed architectures, and in the same way, keeping everything usability, enhancing usability, and a more straightforward implementation. So there's a lot there, but we'll go through some of that path. But this path kind of took a turn about a year and a half ago when we got in contact with the team at FAIR GSI, led by Dr. Ralph Steinhagen, who they were heavy GNU Radio users, but needed to use GNU Radio to do some things beyond what it was able. So at that point, we were in the process of prototyping a lot of the ideas of 4.0, and that was like, okay, but they wanted to take it even further in terms of modernizing the core. So Ralph put his money where his mouth is, devoted very significant development resources, and had a vision for modernizing the GR core. So if you want to learn more about really what are those things, those modernization things, take a look at on our YouTube page from last year, GRCon 23, both of Ralph's talk. One is how they're using GNU Radio at FAIR, and the other, how the core is being modernized and what are the benefits that brings. So, the real question is, why is this group at the Particle Accelerator so invested in a package that's primarily for wireless communication? And, we asked the same thing early on, but it's been, it's graph-based processing of signals. It's just different signals that their team is looking at compared to what the broader community generally looks at. So it's very interesting, and that has been a great collaboration, and this is leading to GNU Radio 4.0. So you'll see, I'm going to go back one slide here, github.com, GNU Radio /GNU Radio 4. This forks the repo from FAIR, and eventually this will be driven by the GNU Radio community, owned by the GNU Radio community, but right now the development is still heavily driven by the team at FAIR. So this is a great place for people, especially people that have heavy expertise in C++, modern C++, to get involved in really building this core, testing the core, and we want to start building applications blocks. And with that said, what are the things that the modern core is bringing? Type strictness, let the compiler do more in terms of optimization, new scheduling paradigms. So with a work scheduling, instead of a microservice architecture, there's less overhead, and then the buffers able to have arbitrary types and be able to do synchronous packet scheduling brings a lot of power into especially like packet processing and chunked data processing that's really hard to do with GNU Radio right now. So where are we going with 4.0? So we have no plans to give up on 3. So 3 is actively maintained, and we plan on keeping that stronger than ever. There was a prototype along the way that I've talked a lot about over the years. This brought in a lot of those concepts: modularity, heterogeneous processing, a lot of effort put into ease of development. But the team in FAIR, having developed a more modernized core and a lot of additional features there, taking some of these concepts in, this is what's going to lead to 4.0 in the very near term, and beyond that, 4.1, et cetera, et cetera. So this leads us to an event coming up that's very exciting, end of August. So this is the 27th through the 30th of August at the FAIR Particle Accelerator, Darmstadt, Germany. And this is going to be an event, European GNU Radio Days, very focused on GNU Radio 4. So the team at FAIR is going to work with people in the community, tutorials, block developments, GNU Radio block coding party. So we really want to come out of this hands-on building GNU Radio 4 blocks and able to build applications. A lot of this is going to be kicking the tires, and we're going to find things and fix them, but we're going to be here with the experts. So there's also going to be keynote talks, community talks, technical talks. So it is a full technical conference, but with a heavy focus on GNU Radio 4.0. So very much looking forward to this. Please register if you haven't already. Tickets.gnuradio.org, and check out the events page for more information. I believe the CFP is closed, but if you have questions in that area or something that you'd like to contribute, please reach out to the organizers, which are on the events GNU Radio page. Keynotes, some very exciting keynote speakers. Eric Blossom, the founder of GNU Radio Project, and not just the founder, he wrote the original GNU Radio software and created the community that we're all part of now. So it's if you've never met Eric, he's an awesome guy. It'll be great to be out there at this event with him. And then also Johan Meschenstrop, who is one of the lead researchers out at FAIR. So tied into this particle accelerator community that I'm not particularly familiar with. So look forward to learning more from him and from the rest of the team at FAIR. Another event that is also exciting every year is GNU Radio Conference. So GRCon 24 is going to be held in Knoxville, Tennessee, September 16th through the 20th. So this is a essentially week-long event. The main track is going to be Tuesday through Friday, the 17th through 20th. So the evening of Monday, there's going to be some tutorial, some lighter events, and then we have social activities on the Wednesday and the Thursday. And so very much look forward to those. One is going to be a full dinner, one's going to be a meet and greet. And if you've never been to Knoxville, it's a cool city. The conference is right downtown and right next to the university, so it's all there right together. The call for participation is open through July 8th. So if you have something you'd like to present or know somebody or want to twist some arms, go to GNURadio.org/GRCon24, submit your abstract. Now the bar for submitting an abstract's pretty low, just a short abstract. Get your idea across. You don't have to write a paper to do a technical presentation. So we accept presentations, papers with or without a presentation, posters, breakout sessions. Don't have it here, but workshops as well. And we do have some exciting workshops, so we'll send out announcements soon about those. Our keynote speakers, very excited to have invited Jack Dongara, who is one of the pioneers of high-performance computing. So he was involved in, or the creator of LinPack, LAPACK, BLAS, Atlas, other high-performance computing packages that you're probably familiar with. So he is a distinguished professor at University of Tennessee, and this will be very exciting to hear from him. Shrihar Sharmanian, who runs the Signal Path blog, is director at Nokia Bell Labs in the area of communication and sensing ASICs research. Also the chair of the millimeter wave terahertz subcommittee of IEEE BCI CTS. So very excited to have Shrihar here as well, and Phil Erickson, who's the director of MIT Haystack. So we always have a large radio astronomy presence at GRCon. GNU Radio itself is fiscally aligned with the SETI Institute, so we are very tied into the radio astronomy community. So Philip Erickson will bring a lot of interesting information from MIT Haystack. So just a few miscellaneous updates from the organization. One, if your organization, your lab, university, company uses GNU Radio, we'd love to have your logo displayed on our website. So this helps us out just to show the pervasiveness of GNU Radio in the community, all the companies and universities, labs that are using it. So please let us know if that is the case. Helps us out, might help you out. So yeah, just let us know. And GNU Radio, of course, is an all-volunteer organization. So we try to organize ourselves around teams, interest groups. A few of them I want to highlight here. The General Assembly. So for people that are, actively involved in GNU Radio consistently over a longer period of time, we'd like to bring them into the group of organizers, the leads, that make technical and organizational decisions. Also, lots of activity on the GNU Radio 4.0 front. So that conversation typically goes on in the architecture chat on Matrix. GNU Radio Companion, also lots of activity going on there with the QT version. So there is a GRC chat and also just development chat on our Matrix server. Documentation, SIGMF, Volk. We have Johannes Demel, who maintains Volk for us, and then also lots of work goes into GRCon and events. Andre runs infrastructure, and then there's also a lot of people in the community involved in education and training. So any way you'd like to get involved, there's things that as an organization we could definitely improve, and if you're willing to help out, please let us know, reach out to us. So for more information on the project, GNURadio.org, all of our documentations, wiki.GNURadio.org. We post everything to YouTube, youtube.com/GNU Radio Project. And I will note that GRCon will be streamed live on YouTube, but we aren't able to stream the workshops. And of course, obviously, if you're remote, there's no networking activities, socials, things like that. But the main track will be streamed on YouTube. The mailing list, Discuss GNU Radio, and also our chat, the Matrix chat, which is chat.GNURadio.org. So we look forward to hearing from you, and please let us know if you have any questions or would like to get involved. Thank you very much. Bye.
Josh is on travel right now, so that last sentence with the question is a little futile. But maybe you have questions and there is somebody else in the room who can answer that. I mean, we're also a lot of experts here in this room. No questions? Well, okay, then we have no questions, also good.